Good evening. My name is Seth Smith. Today I will give a speech on my favorite childhood book, Cloud of the Tents and Meatballs. And in this story, it starts off with a grandfather telling his grandchildren about this place with food dwelling. This place is called Chew and Swallow. And in this town, it provides 3 meals a day for the townspeople, including breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And such as for breakfast, it would start off with a rain of orange juice, maybe a drizzle of pancakes with a little top of syrup afterwards. And it continued like this for a long time until the food came just a little too much for the people to handle. So the town came up with a sanitation crew. And the sanitation crew would clean up the leftover food and take it away. And it continued like that for a long time again, until eventually the food got too much for the sanitation crew to handle. The food got too large, proportions came too large. And so eventually the sanitation crew could not handle all the leftover food and shut down. And that only got worse for the people because the weather got worse. Food became too large. There was a flood of spaghetti that covered the streets of the town, causing huge traffic jams. Then followed by a tornado of tomatoes that covered the town completely. And it could only get worse from there. There was a hurricane of bread. Hard rolls filled the bay. There was pieces of white bread as tall as the men in the town laying in the streets. And the last straw for the people was a huge rainfall of pancakes, and a huge pancake covered the school, closing it permanently. And the townspeople got sick of this. So they took up the bread that fell in the streets and set sail into the ocean to find a new home. And once they found this new home, they took the bread, built new homes, and they had to adapt to a new way of life. They got to experience the first rainfall, the first snow, the first thing of wind that didn't have salt and pepper in it. But the hardest thing for these town people to accommodate to was going grocery shopping for themselves. And the author of this book is Judy Barrett, copyright of the H.W. Wilson Company. Judy was born in Brooklyn, New York. She attended Pratt Institute, where she received the BFA and began art classes for children. She continued her education eventually and got the chance to teach at the Brooklyn Museum and Metropolitan Museum of Manhattan. Judy was a well-known New York Times reviewer, and she was an avid gardener and loved to antique, collecting old antiques and old books. But Judy's writing was different than everybody else's. She took a different approach. She liked the cause of a suppose attitude, such as suppose it rained food. And through this is her success with writing. She thought of the world as an endless opportunity, and she wanted everybody else to receive that same way of thinking. So thank you. That's my story.